Yes, I am a veteran of the watch industry. And maybe that's my major asset, to be old. I started in the watch business in 1974. In 1974, I was 25 years old. And I joined this business just because of passion. Passion of steam machine. When I was a baby, I loved steam machines and play with steam machines. This year, for Christmas, my father, 87 years old, offered me a steam machine again. We played at Christmas till 1 o'clock in the morning. The whole family played with the steam machine. So if you don't know what to buy to your children, buy them a steam machine. You will see how much they enjoy it. When you become an adult, you don't want to lose your toy. The tragedy by becoming an adult would be to lose the toys. Because we all need toys. Toys is giving us dreams. And we do not need to dream during the night, because that goes automatically. We need much more to dream during the day. And toys enables us to dream during the day. And so I decided I would work in my toy factory. And the toy factory, as an adult, was a watch instead of a steam machine. And if you look closely to a watch, you will see how much a watch looks like a steam machine. It's just a question of a little interpretation in your head. So I started in my passion. Now, I bought, because of my passion in 1982, a very, very, very old watch brand. The oldest watch brand in the world. And we bought the oldest watch brand in the world for $18,000, which was not so expensive. But the brand had disappeared for 25 years. 25 years, no activity. And we bought just the name. Only the right to use the name. There was no factory, there was no plant, there was no collection, there were no people, there were no contracts. There was nothing. Because after 25 years, everything had gone bust. So an empty name. And now comes the concept. Because the name was empty, and the only past was in the books registered that in 1735 they existed for the first time, and because of that they were the oldest, we decided that we would apply to this brand a concept that makes the brand the patriarch, the reference of what? Of tradition. If you are the oldest, you are entitled to be the reference for the whole history. The history of watchmaking art, is it technology? When you put in a watch 200 screws, and each screw is screwed with love and high accuracy, and a lot of attention, at the end of the day, you leave into the watch a trace of love. And a trace of love gives to the watch a soul. Machine can never give a soul to a product. Thanks God. But man with hands can give birth to soul. And when you have a watch with a soul, then you have a piece of art, a piece of tradition, a piece of culture. You own 450 years of Swiss watchmaking tradition. You can buy 450 years of Swiss watchmaking tradition. In 1982, the theory was the Swiss, we have to go to the future. We have to innovate. We have to go towards quartz. And the quartz watch will bring you much better accuracy, much better quality, and the cost is much less. That was the option. That was when we thought the future can be our solution. The future is never the solution alone. A future alone is just somewhere in the air. The future must always be related to the past. That is the strength. This is why I say, if you want to go to the future, make sure you are solid on the ground of tradition. No tradition, no future. You need a tradition in order to jump and to connect to the future. How can you go to the future if you are not standing on the tradition? So, the whole Swiss watch industry went on the way of technology and quartz. And we were phenomenally contrarian. And we said, and that was our first ad, since 1735, there has never been a Blancpain watch in quartz, bon, and there will never be one. Of course, hundreds of letters came from very clever people telling, in an ad, you should never have negative things. And you should never say never. So we said never, and it was negative. We said, we don't care. We don't make ads because there are rules. We make ads in order to make people understand what we want. And if the rule says I should never say never, and I need to say never to make clear my message, I'm going to say never. It's not the professor who tells me what to do. The professor tells the majority of the people what to do. And if I do the contrary of the professor, I might be right. At least I am right because I will not be like the others. So professor is very good for everybody. But am I everybody? Do I want to behave like everybody? If you are small, if you are the last to arrive, and you follow everybody, you will never become anybody. If you are the last or the smallest, you must find other ways. If not, never will you succeed. So, small companies need to be contrarian. They need to find a niche where there is nobody sitting. And then you can find some room for your own brand. Because it's very natural that the oldest watch brand in the world is the patriarch of tradition. That the oldest watch brand in the world is the only one that doesn't touch electronic. Because electronic is not an art, it's a technology. And art cannot be technology. Art can use sometimes technology. But art always comes from the heart, from the guts, from the experience, and from the head. Not technology. Art is a heritage. And that makes art totally different from technology. And the Swiss had done this mistake, making the confusion between technology and art. So the success of Blancpain was enormous, immediately, because everybody could feel the sense of art. Everybody suddenly noticed that you do not need a watch. Nobody needs a watch. And today it's even worse. I mean, today, whoever buys a watch is somehow stupid if he buys a watch to read what time it is. That is really not the function of an important, high-quality watch. The higher the price, the less important the factor to indicate what time it is. Indication of time in a watch today, nonsense. You just need somehow two hands, one for the hours, one for the minutes, just to have the right to name it watch. Because if not, your instrument would be named a jewelry or a bracelet. What is the difference between a bracelet and a watch? The bracelet has no function, and the watch has a function. But beside that, it's the same. So the function has become secondary. What is the most important are the irrational elements that you will find in your watch. And if you buy a watch, and you know there are 450 years of tradition, 450 years of love, that this watch has a soul, that this watch is living like you, that the watch will adapt to your own body, and the watch will indicate your time, not the time of the computer. The computer time, you have it on your computer, leave it away. You need your time. This is why my brand this year brought out the first watch ever in history that indicates your time. We made a watch this year that tells you your time. And the watch, with a very high accuracy, can tell you the time you want. If I want time to fly, I have a little pusher, and the watch will show me that after 20 minutes, already 1 hour has gone. And that's when you are in a boring meeting. You say, come on guys, already 1 hour. It's time to leave. And then the watch has a second function when you want time to stop. You want time to be yours. And then the watch shows you after 1 hour that only 20 minutes have gone. So what? You want to leave now? We have been together 20 minutes. Look. It's only 20 minutes. But, as it is a tourbillon, very high, precise watch, very complicated to produce, at any time, I have a third function where I push, and the hands are giving me back the iPhone time. So I can have the 3 times, my iPhone time when I want, or this. It's a very expensive watch. We can only produce 30 pieces, and we must sell at $300,000 each, because it's probably one of the most complicated watch that has ever been made. Why? Because never did we do a watch with gears. This is like we took inspiration from the car industry. It's just a difference of gear. Depending on if you push slow, it's a slow gear, and you push quick, it's a quick gear. But always the watch keeps under reserve the real time, the iPhone time. And that is quite a complication. And of course, when we brought out this watch, we called it the key of time. It's your key of time. And you have a key for your personal time. The success was, we could have sold 300-400 pieces. Because it's a piece of dream. And at the end of the day, art is made for us to dream. And that's the phenomenal power of a museum. The museum is a dream place, open to everybody. You enter a museum and you look all the art that is inside, and it's the most beautiful dream place, open to everybody. This is a social progress that we have museum. It's fantastic. Before, all the dreams were among a few rich collectors. So this was my first step in watches. Then I sold the company to Swatch Group, and in 1992 I sold. And in 1993 I had a big task to restructure Omega. And we had a move that was probably the brightest move that we ever did with my team. I was member of the board, and I had the whole marketing and product of Omega under my responsibility. And we said, we must go to China, 93. We must go to China. And in 93, not many people came to China. And the few who came with very bad stock that could not be sold elsewhere. And we said with Omega, if we work the Chinese market not like an emerging market, but like a structured market, we will get huge market shares. So from day one, we stopped to deliver bad watches or bad stocks. From day one, we decided from now on, every watch must be the same in Shanghai than in New York or in Zurich or in Paris. There is no reason why we should not deliver the same quality and the same shapes. But Omega in 92, 93 was 90% quartz with batteries. And we knew that the battery distribution in 92, 93 in China was not well established. So it was maybe easy to sell a watch, but where would the Chinese customer find a replacement guarantee? Wow, no guarantee, no batteries in the market. So we opened service centers where we were selling batteries. And once we had, at one point, we had more service centers to sell batteries than shops to sell watches. And we said, the Chinese need to be reassured. He needs to know that if he buys an expensive watch, he will constantly get service and constantly will be able to replace the battery. Because in China, service is one of the most important factors. And therefore, we developed our service stations. We had more people employed in service in the beginning than we had people employed in sales. Number two, the Chinese distribution was a little bit oldish, the stores, the jewelers. We came to every jeweler and we said, if you carry our brand, we rebuild at our cost your entire store. But in rebuilding or refurbishing the store, we offered to each store our aesthetic design, but we took part in the store for our own brand. And that gave us a fantastic presence inside the store that had a fantastic look. So all the jewelers that were not Omega, their stores started to look old compared to the competition who was carrying Omega. And so more and more stores said, can I also have the brand? And can you also restructure my shop? And those two actions were crucial to the development of the brand in this country. The service and the quality of the display. And number 3, and the last one, I was a good friend of Cindy Crawford. She was a top, no, she had finished already, but she was a very famous top model in those days. And I said, Cindy, you must come with me to China. The Chinese love nothing more than the human relation. The human relation is one of the most important factors in China. And I want you to visit all my stores. And I want you to see all my customers, all my VIP. And you have to come every year, 5 days to China, to visit with me the stores and to do events. Wow! And Cindy came. And she spent 5 days every year in China with us. And that element, boom, took, of course, and gave to the brand a human relation, a direct relation. Because when you talk about a brand, the Chinese want to know who is behind. Who is, you need a personalization of the brand, not only the name. And the personalization was, of course, Cindy, and later it became James Bond, and so on. So those 3 elements were crucial to the development of the brand. Then I left Swatch Group and I bought Hublot. Hublot is an unknown brand, thanks God. And Hublot doesn't sell any watches, thanks God. Because if it's unknown, it can only improve, and if it doesn't sell, the potential is enormous. You know, this is the guy going to Africa and saying, boss, in Africa we can sell no shoes, nobody's wearing shoes. And then 6 months later, another guy goes to Africa, comes back, boss, in Africa nobody wears shoes. We can sell tons of shoes. Of course. So, Hublot, nobody knew, totally lost brand. Yeah, this guy knows it. Yeah, okay, he also knows now. But in the beginning, nobody knew the brand. And we took, what could we do when you come out with a brand in 1944, in 2004, when everything has been done? What can be done? And I found out that there was a niche in the Swiss watchmaking industry. The niche was the following. Either brands were like Blancpain, heavily invested in the tradition, or brands were connected just to the future. But did any brand connected tradition to the future? No. Nobody. Everybody was trying to repeat yesterday. And I said, instead of repeating yesterday, let's take yesterday and let's connect yesterday to tomorrow. Then tradition will be changed, yes. Because when tradition gets the influence of tomorrow, tradition has to change slightly. So I said, we must bring tradition out of the museum. And we must let new air coming in. And let's try to connect yesterday to tomorrow. To make it very easy to understand, is guitar. Spanish guitar in 1932 was 3,000 years old. Les Paul was a phenomenal, he died last year at 92 years old. He was a phenomenal guitar player, blues. And one day he said to his friend Gibson, "Hey Gibson son, can we not connect this instrument to electronic?" Gibson said, "What? You want to take Spanish guitar, 3,000 years old, and you want to change it?" He said, "I don't want to change. Keep the same guitar, keep the same way of playing. I just ask you, can you connect to electronic and amplifier?" And Gibson said, "My goodness, this guy is crazy, but let's try." And Gibson connected the old Spanish guitar of Les Paul to amplifier and electronic. And then they tried. Said, wow, we have new sounds. The same way of playing, the same guitar, but new sounds. These new sounds have given birth to new music. There would be no American or rock and roll or all this music would not exist without electronic guitar. And that is, what is it? It's the fusion between 3,000 old guitar that you suddenly connect to the future. And that gives birth to a new guitar and to new sounds and to new music. That is what I call to connect the past to the future. And that idea, I said to myself, because I'm so old in this watch business, has never been done. I want to play new music with my watches. I want to connect my tradition, which I know, to the future, to give birth to a new tradition. That was the Hublot concept. And the Hublot concept, as a result, we bought the company in 2004, September, was doing 26 million US dollar turnover, and in 2008, we had multiplied already by 10. We were at 260. And now we are far above. And we have started to come to China 16 months ago. And 16 months ago we said, we have now to come to China. Because we couldn't do everything at the same time. And we have to go by one country to it. You cannot go from one day on when you are nobody to the whole world. And now we are coming to China. And the Chinese are saying, wow, finally. So we are meeting enormous success in a small scale, but enormous success because we are anyhow a niche market. You understand that not everybody wants to buy a watch with 3 different time zones. Very often people are happy to have already one. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.